In Tana, there's almost always at least 2 or 3 ways to do any particular thing that you want done. There's usually a keyboard shortcut. There's almost always a UI element or two available to you. There's also the command line interface, which gives you that third option. And so that's what we'll be covering today. A few important things about how to use the command line. First, it's kind of like talking to your system, and you'll see that as we walk through some examples. Having said that, the order of the words that you type doesn't necessarily matter. For instance, if you want to add a tag to something, you don't need to start with add. You can type tag, and the command line interface is smart enough to bring up add tag, remove tag, all of those options related to tag. And finally, the location matters. Depending on where your cursor is, that determines what kind of options are going to pop up and in what order they'll be available to you. And it also determines what will happen when you select those options. Because if an action is going to take place on a node, for instance, it's going to be dependent on which node you have selected at that point in time. Now that we have those out of the way, let's go through some of the common commands that you are likely to be using. The first is view as. Let's go up here and hit Command K to bring up the command line interface. And we want to do the view as. Okay. Let's say we want to view as tabs. Okay. So now you notice that each of those bullets that were underneath this primary one is now its own tab. I don't really like that. Here's the other way you can do that is you can access this view button here, change it back to list. Often that's not available to you, so one of the quickest ways to bring that up will be using the command line. View as, let's do cards this time. Okay, next one, moving a node. Let's say we don't want this node here. We can hit Command K, move to, whenever there's this little arrow here, that means if you hit enter, it'll continue to the next portion. That's one of the things about the command line interface is often it splits things into different portions of the command that you're going to enact. So I hit enter, move to, here's the top option, my personal space. I think I'm gonna keep going with that. So inside my personal space, I want to move this node to my, let's say home. And you can either use the arrow key or select with the mouse at this point. And now we've reached the end point of that command. It takes action, it's moved it. Okay, now what happens if you move a parent node that has several child nodes, like here? What do you think will happen? Let's do Command K, move to, and let's move that to the today node. Okay, that node and all of its children were moved. So keep that in mind whenever you're moving a node. If there's child nodes underneath that node, it's not just going to move that one node, it's gonna move that whole set. Okay, next one is find nodes. This is a great way to do a live search or live query, I believe they're calling it now. So you hit Command K, find nodes, and then typically you'll probably be looking for something with a certain tag, or maybe a field, or maybe based on when it was created, or a relative date even, the last such and such days. I'm gonna stick with tag, find nodes with tag. Let's do video, and we could go even further and have more options that we want to select, but let's stop here. So I do, and now this returns every video that I've recorded and tagged as a video. If you have a question about this video, or you'd like to request a future video, drop a comment below. This video is part of a playlist called Tana Bits, so check out the other videos there. And subscribe and hit the notification bell to get updates on any future content.